This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code Socrates at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenrail radio playlist. zenrailclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Portian Bakery. If you're located in the Portian area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Portian Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone could podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. Okay, I don't know if you are a fan of Friends. No.
Yeah,
Did you see the memes that were like around? That Matthew Perry.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, like or not. I guess
they're not memes.
Yeah, his passing.
Yeah.
Well, that's how we first saw it. Like, no, there's like I guess it's not really a meme, like news like headlines. Oh no, it was on a meme account, and that's how Tara first heard about it. That's what was like, oh, okay, memes. Like that's where the news was coming from. Like the ban we were talking about with the news outlets in Canada now. Even for mine, it's like I started seeing it through like hip hop news and stuff, and like all these other random accounts like BuzzFeed, you know. But where did you hear about it? Twitter, I'm assuming, or X?
Well, yeah, X, yeah. CB24.
Oh, okay. It was like trending or something.
No, just
okay. Yeah,
like the For You thing, right? So.
Oh, I see. Yeah. That's crazy. He was like 54, and you're like, oh man.
It's,
you know,
he'd been dealing with. I don't know if it was drug related like he's been dealing with.
Okay, so a
lot of problems before.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. Yeah. Okay, so I was thinking that too, where it's like when they said like, oh, apparent drowning, I'm like, or did you like? I mean, we're kind of speculating here, but did you like get super high and then fall asleep in the pool, and then that's how you drowned, and they're just like ruling it as a drowning because you're.
Well, I think the news may come out eventually. What was the cause, or right? So we don't know exactly what happened.
I remember.
I mean, outside of how he died, but like why, or accidental, or like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That's what I heard about Bob Saget too. When he died, but he's dead, right?
Yeah,
the Full House guy.
Yeah. I think
he like fell backwards and hit his head. Yeah. So, but when they're talking about it before, I don't think he was on drugs. He like fainted or something, and then he just hit his head. But like, it's weird with these celebrities that we grew up with just passing away. It's like, oh man, time is so finite. You know what I mean? Like. All of these like people that we grew up with
you
watching.
I mean, when they were doing the Friends reunion, you could see he was he's not. Well. Yeah, that's what it looked like, right?
Yeah.
From the outside.
I mean, he always had. If you watch the like his documentaries and stuff, because I love that guy. He was like. He's the reason why I got into marketing. There's this like whole story arc for him where he's like a business analyst, and then he wanted to switch his careers, and then he's like, oh, what do I like? And then he had to figure out a way to sell a shoe, and I was like, oh, that seems like a cool job. And then like it like got the ball rolling. But when I was watching his like documentary stuff, he was talking about like alcoholism and all this other stuff. It's like, yeah, you had some tough times there. And he didn't seem super fit when more recent years and stuff. You know, he bullied Trudeau. There's like
yeah. Jimmy Kimmel was it?
Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel, yeah, something like that. I think he was talking about how they went to school together and like he like made fun of him. But it's weird because like, you know, Trudeau now is the leader of the world. This guy, you know, was a TV. But I'm sure
I guess
at the time you're like,
I mean, it's more of a joke. It's like, is this the thing that happens to bullies, or just?
Oh, like full circle karma. I mean, who knows, right? Like, Yeah, because like the trauma is definitely there, and that's why he bullied him, and then maybe the trauma just carried out. I mean, we don't really know what
Yeah,
his life
yeah,
was
yeah.
like personally, but
But it's
yeah,
yeah, it's pretty young
that's
though.
too bad.
Yeah.
I know that's what I mean. I was like, oh, dude, I never expected to. I mean, we were driving home yesterday, and that's when Tara told me, she's like, oh, did you see the thing? I'm like, no idea what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like saying, and I was like, whoa, that guy's like young.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't expect him to. But a lot of people, I mean, is it a lot of people are passing away now, or are we just like more paying attention to it? Maybe a bunch of people passed away when we were little kids too. We just didn't really care.
Well, yeah, because these
You know
are,
what I'm saying? Like,
but these people are more influenced our lives, right? We watched Friends, we watched, right? These are we're more connected to these actors than the ones that were older generation, right? So we wouldn't have paid attention to them.
right, and also like the news probably didn't promote the passing away of all these other actors that our parents grew up with.
And also,
You know,
yeah,
so it's
we
just
didn't
like,
also have that easy of an access to find out. You got to watch the news, right?
right, yeah, right. Like now it's just like all the feeds are just like rest in peace, rest in peace. And you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So maybe it's like it seems like it's happening a lot, but it's really not, you know? It's like a regular frequency with these individuals. But a lot of people, you know, speculating now it being so negative, like the world is so bad. That's all I keep hearing. But I don't know, from my perspective, I guess if you like filter the information for yourself, it doesn't seem as bad, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
I bring this up because I don't know if I tried about in the last podcast, but like the analysis that I was writing, like a market analysis, and I had to look at like different forces that I guess maybe I didn't tell you about this, but I was writing this like forces report, right? And basically what it does is like it looks at different influences that could impact, you know, the thing you're selling.
Okay. Yeah,
So
yeah,
like I
yeah.
had to break it down into like trends, you know, like general stuff, right? And then I had to write about existential forces, and for that, I put like the war in Ukraine, the Hamas thing, and then the potential World War III. I brought up UAPs in that report because I thought it'd be cool. And but it's weird because people were like, "Oh no, terrible state of the world." I'm like, "What are you guys talking about?" And then as I was writing this, I had to like reference it with articles and like research. And as I was reading, I'm like, "Bro, this is terrible." If you're just looking at
Yeah, but
this,
like the
you know what I mean? Like,
I get that, and then it's in that perspective. Yes, it is terrible. But if you go back 20 years, it was even worse. There was actually more wars. There were more situations that were
for
going
sure,
on
right?
that you forget that we're at a level that's much more. I don't want to say calmer, but much more less wars that we normally have than we'd had like 20, 30 years
Yeah,
ago.
totally. Steven Pinker wrote about that. The I think it's called like Enlightenment Now, the book. And basically just if you actually look at it statistically, we're better off now than before.
Yeah.
It's just because it's in our time period that we actually I was having a discussion with somebody about this. I was saying like, well, yeah, if you look at before, it was like this, da 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 da, and then the person was saying, don't minimize our suffering. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not trying to minimize your suffering,
No,
but
no, no. Yeah.
like everyone's suffering. Like if you, it's just because it's happening to you. And then that person was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, yeah, bro, like because you are experiencing the suffering right now, you think it's like the worst thing in the world. But if you just look back, it's like, what if Genghis Khan came around just like
That's a
raped and pillaged your whole, you know what I
true.
mean?
Yeah,
They're like,
yeah,
bro.
yeah, yeah. What I heard was like, we think that the internet was the best, or like something about like peace in the world or generating like calmness in the world
Mhm.
was like internet or like getting information out there. But I think the thing that was in I want to say like our only century, like in the last 100 years, was borders. Was the thing that generated peace because it's
Oh, that's really interesting.
right
Oh, very cool.
solidifying where the
Yeah, yeah,
lines
yeah,
are
no,
actually are, so that no one's like invading others. Like that's
yeah, that's true actually. Yeah, yeah. But that's like you control that through superpowers, right? You have like a military might, the army is what creates those divisions, and yeah, you can't just run into somebody. Yeah, I've never thought of it like that actually. That's super interesting. It's funny too cuz like
just never had that in
as
any time of history, like solidifying actual borders. Like
yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure, for sure. And All right, so that's really interesting that you say that because like as somebody who like when you're surrounded by people who are worried about this stuff, but you're like, but you didn't really look too far into it, you
Hmm.
know? So what I mean by that is you and I just like looking at it logically, the potential for World War III is very minimal because that's mutually assured destruction. You know, we're all going over. You know, like if you really do World War III with nuclear bombs, um, you'll like destroy the whole world, and everyone knows that, and nobody wants to destroy the whole world,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So so what I think will happen, and we've talked about this multiple times, like proxy wars. So like instead of fighting the war directly, you'll be fighting it like by fun, like what they're doing with these smaller wars, right? I'll give you these arms to fight off, Russia. Like why are we giving billions of dollars to Ukraine? That's not our war. Technically, it's not our war,
Hmm.
right? But we're giving them money because we want to like solidify the defense of you, or else you're going to expand too far. So instead of us fighting it,
Yeah.
you're fighting it. It's a proxy war,
Hmm.
right? Um, and but basically, like proxy is just like in place of,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And right, so as you and I were discussing this, okay,
Hmm.
I was like, this makes a lot of sense to me. But then listening to other people freak out about it, it's like, but if you understand the the geopolitics of it, it actually doesn't make sense unless we're suicidal. And I don't think we're suicidal, you know?
Hmm.
Right? So, in my research, I found this one article that literally talked about what you and I were talking about,
Okay.
right? Which is like, it won't happen because of we need each other. Global economics is what's keeping everything at bay. We like talked about that last week, right? So I sent that article to the person that was like freaking out.
Hmm.
And then this person was like, oh, yeah, I actually listened to a podcast about that same thing this morning. And they were saying that, because of global interdependence, we're not going to go into World War III. I'm like, yeah, it's just logical. So then it made me think, how many of us are running with these weird narratives with like half information and like, you know what I'm saying? It's
But
like
there's
the
a
unknown is freaky.
exactly. I think that's what it is. What sells is the fear. If it's like, oh, we're not going to get into a
Yeah.
war, oh, that ends right there. Like what if you're saying like
Yeah.
war? If fear sells, then you're be reading like, oh, uh, like any small segment of news that happens, it's like, oh, they just dropped bombs. Oh, this is going to start the war. Or they just moved
Right. Yeah.
their military ship. Oh, this is going to start. Like these are little things that you just
Sure.
post only, then yeah, you're gonna add on to your fear that there's a world war to come. But if you like look
But
at the whole story, it's like, wait, it's not. That's not true necessarily.
for sure, for sure, for sure. But what? I mean, I don't want to take it off the table
Sure,
because
sure,
of
sure.
World War One. You know, like nobody expected that to happen. World War Two is pretty obvious, right? Right, we're all just gonna stop thing. But World War One was like everyone had a different vested interest, and that's what created the World War. You know, um, but were we as globally interdependent at that time as we are now? Like, if you actually look at the
But
production
if you
line,
look,
right? We're gonna
like even after World War II, there were so many other things that were like U.S. was involved in the Cambodia war, right?
oh yeah,
Or
right, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Vietnam.
yeah.
There were like Israel was dealing with. There was a Yom Kippur war. There was with the other like Egypt and
Oh wow,
other Middle East countries versus them. Yeah, like there was so many more things that were happening
okay.
in the 80s, 70s that we forget.
We just weren't privy to. Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally, totally. And that actually reminds me of the China thing that's happening with the Philippines right now. So like because I have cousins in the Philippines, they're all like telling me about it, and we don't get that news here, right? But I added it to my report because I was like, okay, well, this is you could like this is an existential threat that might be
Hmm.
um, affecting what it is we're selling, and in that I was like we because of the access to information, yeah, we wouldn't have known about all those things that you're talking about at the time. So it seems like there's only one thing because that's all the West was covering,
Yeah.
but if you look at it in its totality, it's like this might actually be not as bad as we think it is.
Hmm.
But I did recently see a thing about Biden saying that we're going to help the Philippines fight off China. It was a headline though, so I was like, okay, I didn't really dig deep. If that does happen, that could bring another superpower into the mix. But I just really don't see. I don't see it playing out the way people really think it is.
Yeah.
Because okay, so what they said is in the article that I saw was like, even if they don't jump to nuclear war, there's other things that they could do, which is like an EMP bomb, and like you just shut off the power of a city.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but what about like stock market trades, and what about like if you just shut off the
It's
power of the city?
they're all too interconnected now, right?
Yeah, it makes no sense. Like if they really do it, it's like, oh, we're just going suicidal here. Like there's no way you would just do this and like it doesn't seem like the smartest business move.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the world runs off of, right? Like economics.
Yeah.
Like it's not evident that one country's trying to take over the world. Like I want to be the sole superpower or whatever.
Yeah.
So because of that, it's like you have to take into consideration like the supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you start seeing countries being like, I'm just gonna bring everything in house, then you're like, okay, I'm worried now. Because then it's like they think that they can do it all by themselves, and that's when you have less interdependence and war.
Yeah. Yeah. If you,
But I
but
don't think anyone's
that would
doing
only
that.
that would happen if it's like it has to be like those bigger countries that have that kind of power to do
Yeah.
so, like America or China, but they're not.
Yeah. You still see things like made in China. So it's like, how's that going to work?
Mm-hmm.
Like, imagine if we go to a war with China and then you're still buying Chinese made products. That's a little ironic.
Yeah.
You're like, why are we in a war? I like literally use you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. It's wild. I really don't think we're headed. Actually, I was listening to, like, speaking of the unknown, I was listening to more UFO stuff, UAP stuff. And I was listening to the counter of what Tom's been talking about. So there's two sides of this thing. So there's like prepare for war against the UAPs,
Sure.
and then there's the other side, which is like they've been here forever, and they're just here to keep the peace. Like they actually wouldn't attack you. And it's interesting listening to both sides because you're like, I could see both sides, but I kind of side more with the peacekeeping side because if you have this level of power and you've allegedly been here throughout time, it's like why would you all of a sudden want to attack us?
Right.
You know, when people are like, oh no, UAPs are real, there's gonna be war of the worlds. It's like, how? Like they obviously have way more technology than us that are
Mm-hmm.
like, we can't even fathom it. So why would you worry about them overtaking us?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wouldn't you have done it already?
That's true.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
like it's like ant colonies, right? They're like, oh no, the humans are just so advanced. It's like, well, if we wanted to kill you, we would have done it already. We'll do it if like you were invading our house, like,
Yeah.
okay, there's
But that's different.
ants,
Right.
gotta get rid of you,
Yeah. But not to.
which is what they might be doing.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like maybe the aliens, that's why they turn off the nuclear bombs. They're like, bro, you're kind of messing with my stuff now. I gotta chill out. But like, if they really wanted to take over and rule you, I mean, we don't do that to other animals. So why would we expect these aliens to do it to us?
Mm-hmm.
They would have done it already.
Right.
So I really don't think that. Like I really don't think that we are in any danger here. But I think the interesting part is just the existential.
I mean, like
threat. That's why I put it
no, but
inside the report.
true. But also, it's like if they've always been here, let's say, and they're going to take over now. But why are they waiting for us to get more powerful? You get what I'm saying?
It made no sense.
Wouldn't have they done it already when we
totally,
were like less of having these kinds of technologies?
like stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Like we should really take fear of aliens off the table. Because Cenk Uygur said that too, actually. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
if they would have done it, if they were malicious, they would have done it already. Or hostile, they would have done it already. And it's like, yeah, that's so true. So that's like changing my perspective on the whole thing. But, the way we run as a society, It's like we might end up believing in a War of the Worlds thing. But that's what they said. The strategists for this whole thing, they're like, we're going to create terrorism, and they actually outlined the plan, and that's what the guy is saying, that the government's trying to create this one world government, like the heads of the world are trying to create this one world government where we unify against the aliens, right? But um, the person that I'm listening to was saying was that like that was a strategy created by the Nazis in World War II because they knew about aliens,
Okay.
right? We all knew about aliens, right? So what a strategy was like, if you want to control the world, you have to create like a big enemy. You know what I'm saying? And we're seeing it play out now. So maybe like I don't know, what is a regular person really going? Because you know what I mean, like we just talked about how we're not afraid of World War III because of the interdependence. But if you talk to a normal person who's like, "Oh my God, World War III is coming," it's like, but you just got to look into
Yeah, yeah,
read a
yeah.
bit more. It makes no sense, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
So like, imagine the regular person being like, "Oh my God, aliens are real. They're going to take over." You're like, no, no, like but they would have done it already, you know.
Yeah.
And now you're trying to convince them of the thing that they don't need to be afraid of. So you're just like trying to quell the panic around you, you know.
Yes. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So I wonder how like the normal person is going to take it, and that's what's like kind of worrying me
Mm-hmm.
because you can control like an entire populace
Of course. Yeah, yeah,
through fear.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
We saw like again, it's like COVID was like the big eye opener for me. It's like, oh, you really can just hoard everyone, shut down businesses, make people get shots, do all these things out of like fear. You know, that's like our biggest weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you make of it? Like, do you think we are heading to some like big, I don't want to call it destructive phase, but like enlightenment phase? You know, actually, you know, Armageddon. So, because my cousin too was like mentioning how it's funny that we're following the Armageddon story in the Bible,
Okay.
like the way so like first is like pestilence, then starvation, then war, and then death, right? But I was like, when he sent that to me, I was kind of like, oh, that's actually just the natural order of how things would work.
Mm-hmm.
If there was pestilence, like disease, you would lead to starvation,
Yeah.
you know? And then from starvation, people will get defensive. You'll probably
Sure.
create a war, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
was like, maybe that's what the Bible is. There's so many like hidden messages in there, like ways people live their lives. He's like, oh, it's following the pattern. It's like, but maybe that's just a general pattern.
I think it's a general pattern. Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? So when people are like, we're following, like we're headed towards the Armageddon that was stated in the Bible, it's like, no, the Bible just like created a very specific, like not specific, but like it highlighted a pattern that humans always go through,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So, okay, but when you look at what Armageddon means, it doesn't necessarily mean like the destruction of something. It could mean like the destruction of your current way of life.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, maybe we are headed towards an Armageddon. Not in terms of like we're gonna lose everything,
Right.
but
You
like we're
mean?
going to change the way we're living.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like what do you think?
I don't know. I don't really see it like that. I just think that maybe we're just, in comes and goes kind of thing, where it's like we'll have this
Mhm.
feeling for now, and then it'll kind of die down. Things will
But
settle a
do you
little
think
bit.
do you think for sure? But do you think we're going to like have an Armageddon of our lifestyle? You know what I mean? Like we're going to radically change the way we live our
Well, that
lives.
would be. I would have said that that's COVID.
Oh, you think the impetus was COVID?
No, I mean that's
It all like began
the
with it?
Armageddon was COVID. Like it's already been changed since COVID.
Right, no, so yeah, right, right. So it's like that was the starting point. Like COVID
I don't know if it's a starting point. I
like
think
was the
maybe that's.
gunshot.
I don't know if it's a starting point. I think that's. Uh, it depends on how you look at it. What was the difference, or I think the change of like how we work. That was the start,
That's what I mean.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was like the trigger for that was COVID. You know, it's like, oh,
True.
you guys gotta work from home.
Yeah.
and a lot of things like the metaverse thing. I don't know if we talked about in the last podcast, but or maybe no, I think I was just texting it to you. Um, I listened to the metaverse podcast with Lex Friedman
Yeah.
and Mark Zuckerberg, and it's crazy because like you're in this world where you can see the person right in front of you, and it's like high levels of detail, right? But it takes like 3 hours to get that like full scan done, and
Hmm.
like nobody's going to do that. It's commercially not viable. But in the future, it's like, are we really just going to head towards this full digital immersion?
I think,
And we talked about it before, and we're talking about like augmented reality.
yeah,
But how far are we going to push that envelope?
I think I think technology is all about convenience. If it adds convenience to your life, I think that's generally what would succeed.
So you think like maybe in the future we'll all be working like through the digital space?
If
Because I can
there,
see the
if
door opening.
yes, if there is a convenience factor to it, as well as the business can make money through it that way too, right? That they actually see production to the value that's been putting in, right? So if that's why like a
Yeah.
lot of right now a lot of companies are asking them to come back, or they have to quit because they moved out far away, let's say, right? Like those sort of things.
Yeah, yeah.
So because they've seen value a reduction in labor, in a sense, like the product that's coming out isn't as much as they used to be when they were working in office.
Like the qualities
Quality of the
diminished.
work, or yeah. So like that's what I'm saying. Like these both things have to come into play.
But I wonder if that's just your industry. Like it depends on the industry we're talking about. You know, like I
No,
could
these are
see if
the.
you're creating video games.
I understand that. No, but these are happening even for the video games industries because.
No, but that's what I mean. Like, no, I'm saying like video game industry is one where I'm like, you guys got to collaborate. You have to see each other.
But yeah,
Like you have to see what the oh that's cool. You know.
but this is like I think that this is what the numbers are showing. What I keep hearing about is more and more people have to come back to work. Right? Maybe it's not like the same amount
Really?
of days necessarily, but not the same amount of days, but like like 2 or 3 days a week. So that's the thing.
No, but right, but I wonder if that's an industry specific thing. That's what I mean.
yeah, but
It's
if
like
no, I'm saying like in percentage wise, it seems to be not like 100% of the whole businesses, right? I would
it's
say
like yeah, come back one.
yeah. It depends on the specific business, and of course, like overall economy. I don't know if it's like 50% or like 70%. You know what I mean? Of companies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it depends on that kind of thing.
But but like, imagine the level of okay, as a business person, like, why would you? Because I'm okay. So if you look at it in terms of you have to come into work, that actually limits your potential. So potential for growth or like innovation, right? Because like, let's say the best person in the entire world lives in friggin' Brazil, okay? And then you're like, but I can't tap into you because I live here.
Sure.
So it's like, why not? If we created more digital immersion, then we'd only get the best
So that's what I'm saying.
and the brightest working.
That's what I'm
for
saying.
you,
Like where
you know?
they both have to. That's what I'm saying. That they would both have to be there, in that sense. If the
What do you
meta,
mean? What?
if the meta world does allow to bring better collaboration, because you can now visual, like you're kind of generating the real world in the virtual world, right?
Yeah.
If that
Yeah.
generates better value for the company, then they're going to go in that direction. Right now, we don't have that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's what I'm saying.
No, for sure. No, right. But I think the technology hasn't
Yeah, we haven't reached. It's not easy to do right now, right? That's what I'm trying to say.
It's also not even. Yeah, for sure. It's not. It's also not even just technology. I think it's like accountability. I think that I work really good alone.
Sure.
Because it's like just leave me to my own devices. I need to like go into a zone.
So that's
and like do work.
That's a level of motivation.
But then
right.
That's what I mean. Right.
If a
So
person
I think
doesn't have that,
it's
you know.
yeah.
Then that's
right? And
why,
it's like
yeah.
entrepreneurial,
Mhm.
right? Like that's what I mean by accountability. I know I'm going to get the work done,
Mhm.
but other people like will not. But that's like a foundational. I think that's a leadership issue because like you have to like establish trust from the beginning,
Sure. Yeah.
you know? And that was one of the things that I don't want to give away all the secrets, but that is one of the things that we established. I'm trying to say this vaguely, but that's one of the things that we established as a cornerstone of working together as an effective team.
Mhm.
And we like put that into our mandate, which is like trust.
Right.
I don't care what you're doing. I don't care how you're doing it, but I trust you'll get it done to the highest quality you
Mhm.
can. And that gives you like personal accountability. But then I could see when it's not established in like leadership, then other individuals are just like, I'm just gonna take the whole day off. But you're like, but I'm working from
Yeah,
home,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but you're like,
Yeah.
but it's been 2 weeks and I still don't have the thing. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So it takes a type of person, and maybe like that's what those companies telling other people to come back are doing. You know what I mean? They're like imagine if you work as a call center person.
Mhm.
Okay, you have your laptop, and then you're like, I'm just gonna work from home and take these calls, and then but I'm like working,
Yeah, yeah.
but you don't know, like your boss doesn't know you're actually not taking calls.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like I can't visually see you, so that's why they want them back in. It's like at least I can like
Yes.
see some accountability of you actually getting this thing done.
Mhm.
Like, but that leads me to a bigger question: is like people just don't want to do the jobs that they've like just given. It's
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
you
yeah.
just don't like your job. That's pretty obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, but that those are the, again, then it'll go in that direction of which can turn into AI, which can, you know what I mean? That's generally
It's
what will
what I mean.
happen. And then again, more people
Right,
without
but you're
jobs as
threatening
well.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. But that's you threatening
Yes.
yourself with that because like you didn't provide quality as an employee.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
actually, like there's but maybe it's because I came from the freelance world. So like for me, I'm like I'm not. I actually personally don't see anyone that I interact with on a professional level um as like as an employee. I see myself as like a freelancer in an employed position.
Sure.
So for me, it's like I want to provide you with something because you're paying me for that thing. Whereas I think some people have a bit of an entitlement to that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like for me, it's like I'm working for my food. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like
yeah.
people that don't have that experience of like working for your food, they're just gonna be like, you have to feed me.
See, I think,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. I think the difference was because you already were doing this kind of job, like an online world, prior to, so you have a bit more different experience to it, right? When COVID happened,
yeah,
when COVID happened, people weren't used to the online thing. So what normal humans do is always try to find a way to be as slack offish as
game the
possible.
system.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
yeah, for sure, for sure.
and that's what,
But
to shift directly to online. It's like, okay, how do I game this, or how do I, you know what I mean? So that's just the normal
yeah,
normal
totally.
way that most people do.
But I mean, like, it's not like I'm not saying that I don't game it either. Like, who wouldn't game the system? It's more of like it goes back to like you just don't like your job because for me,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
everything I do is like an art piece. Like a lot of people are like, oh, this is really great, and they're like, wow, your quality's so good. But it's like because to me, I'm putting out art.
Yeah. So it depends. Yeah. Again,
That's
that's
a
that.
reflection of
That's the view of loving the job versus just looking at his job as a job, right?
right. Yeah, totally, totally, totally. And this is why I think that UBI should be a thing because it's like then you only get the best people. Like it's so frustrating when you want to do a good job because to you it's like, oh, this is like a statement. This is like an art thing. That's how I look at all my projects, right? Like art pieces, right? But when you have like a collaborator that doesn't see it like that and they're just being lazy about it, it's like, ugh, like we're bringing down the quality of my art.
I
If you just
wonder.
not have this job,
Right.
then I would only work with passionate artists,
I wonder. There's different companies do different ways. It's like how well they do based. Then they get pay raises or like
But
I
I
don't know if
don't
those
feel
things
like
necessarily how well they work. I don't know,
no,
but
no,
like these things are like stock options or things like that. Like this is how like the
for
bigger
sure. No,
companies
no,
do,
totally,
right?
totally. Right. There's like this thing in psych where it's like intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Okay. And like they tested on children, right? So they made these kids paint pictures and then they were like, we'll give you $5 for every picture you make. And the quality just suffered. They just didn't want to paint anymore because they're like, it's not internal. It's not intrinsic to me.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's more of like it's a stick and a carrot, but it should be like driven internally. You should take pride in your work because like
Yeah,
if
yeah,
I
yeah,
saw that, I'm like, you know what I'm trying to say? It's like if
yeah.
I saw the quality is terrible, I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk to you, bro. Like you obviously don't like this. What other aspects are, it says a lot about you as a person, I think. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So if you like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like it speaks like that's kind of a trite statement. Like your work speaks volumes of who you are, but it kind of is true because if you send me something with all these errors in it, I'm like, you just didn't reread this. Like, what are we doing here?
Hmm.
You know what I'm trying to say? And then it's like it looks bad on you and other aspects of your life to me.
Sure.
But I feel like that's for everyone, right? Like,
Yeah.
don't you gauge other people on perception, right? Like, what I think of you based on what you've shown me,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Yeah, it's weird. And then what's interesting too is like thinking about how other people live their lives is tripping me out too. Because because of the online world, it's like you don't really see these people that often.
Yeah.
But then when you do get peer like you peer into their lives, you're kind of like, that's boring. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how to explain it, but just like when we talk about personal things, like how do you spend your mornings? And I'm like, I don't know. I like wake up, do a bunch of work, walk my dog, like like always thinking about like, and then I'll like read up about something I find interesting and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But then when you listen to other people, it's like, oh, I yelled at my kids because they made a mess, and then I had to
What?
make them breakfast. No, swear to God, bro, this is like, and I'm just like, okay, like this is we didn't need to share. Let's just talk about the job. You
Mm.
know what I mean? It's like, but it is boring. Like even you laughed. It's like why would you subject yourself to that reality? But maybe okay, why do people subject themselves to a reality that they obviously don't like? Is it just complacency? You know what I'm
Uh,
saying? Like if you don't like it, why don't you change it? But I guess you can't change it if you have kids. That's like for me, that's why I'm like, ooh, that's a big like I feel like my life would be over. I couldn't live for myself. You'd always be thinking like to me, you'd be thinking about the kid.
yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But there's different. Yeah, with the kid, it's different versus what their age they're at, right? There's
No, for sure.
right.
Right. But like when I hear like, oh, I woke up, I yelled at my kids and like for making a mess, blah blah blah. I'm like, you're stuck. Like I have the mobility to be like, oh, if I don't like this job, I'm gonna leave.
Hmm.
But they're like, if I don't like this job, I gotta stay because I gotta pay for my kids thing.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And is that like maybe we don't realize the chains we're slowly putting on ourselves,
yeah. Without knowing what you're doing, yeah, of course, yeah. If that's the case, if they,
right?
yeah, if they knew what they're doing, then it's a different scenario, right?
That's what right, exactly. And it's like if you understand, it's like levels of conscious awareness. You're
Or like
like, I am aware that I'm making this decision.
or understanding the challenges that come with
Right.
whatever decision to make. Yeah.
Right. But then are most people just living off the narrative that they believe that they're supposed to live and that's how you get rechained?
It depends on how much I guess research they did in a sense. How much did you understand what was going to happen?
It goes back to the thing we were talking about. Yeah, like the World War thing. We're like, it doesn't make any sense, but
Did
if
you
you think
only
that
look
way,
at Did you only look at the rosy pictures of the world? You know what I mean?
right,
Like only the rosy images of it, having kids, and like all the things that come up. But like,
right,
there's so many things you go through to get to those points, right?
right. You know what's crazy? So like, I was actually talking to Tara about this, and it just like hit me. I was like, you work with so many kids, but you don't want kids. And I was like, that's weird because like I also like when people see me at like martial arts and stuff, they're like, oh, you're really good with kids. It's like, yes, but I'm not running to have kids because I know that I'm only going to see them for that 1 hour. But you got to go back home. You got to tell them to eat. You got to tell them to go do their homework. You got to do like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's like maybe so like as you're growing up, you're like, oh, this kid's so nice. I want one too. And then you get one, you're like, oh, dude, I did not know this is what it came with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? You're like, that's
Yeah, I think so.
like
In
you
some
didn't,
way.
peer
Yeah.
far enough ahead.
Yeah.
You know? It's like don't just look at the rosy colored glasses here, you know? You still have to like
But I feel
do
like
other things.
exactly. But I feel like today you have easy access to these kinds of information, right? I can understand
Yeah,
before.
true. Just Google it,
it's
bro.
yeah. Like before I can understand it's
Yeah,
not
no, for sure.
right easily accessible or like what kind of books to read, that kind of thing, versus now it's like
Yeah.
you can find very quick articles about these things, people with kids or people without kids, what's their life success kind of thing, like how that is all
Yeah.
to come. So yeah.
Yeah, there's like a lot of memes that I get too where it's like like dinks, dual income, no kids.
Okay. I didn't hear that word before.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, just like these are the things we send one another and like the yeah, that's like me and Tara. But like yeah, like or like there's other ones of like dog parents and stuff. Like, you know, even with a dog, somebody can't remember who. I remember who. I won't say who though. Was like, oh, I want to get a dog, you know? And I was like, yeah, it's very expensive too though, you know? And they were like, well, would you give your dog? I was like, no, I wouldn't give it back. I wouldn't give Athena back. But also now I know that there's so many other little things that you have to do in association with a dog. Like we can't travel for long periods of time. You know, people are like, "Oh, now that Tara's graduated, whatever, like you guys can go on a trip again." It's funny how we're just known for that now. You know, like, but then I'm like, no, we can't, we literally can't. Like, it was a moment in time when we could do that for like all those months, but like we have an apartment. Even if we just got rid of the apartment, really, it's just the dog situation.
Mhm.
You know, when I was gone for like 2 weeks, 10 days, 14 days, I can't remember. Yeah, when I went to the Philippines, and then she was having a breakdown, Athena,
Yeah.
because I wasn't around. You know, and you're like, oh, that's gonna happen if we just leave her.
Yeah. Mhm.
You know, and then we brought her to oh man, this is wild. So we're like, okay, we're just gonna go to Ottawa. We'll just bring her with us. We'll put her in the hotel room. Barked all night because you know people walking by, like, yeah, and we're just like, oh, you're gonna get us kicked out, bro. Like, stop. Because like people in the hall always moving, and you're like, oh, you can't even bring her to a hotel.
Right.
You know, so like, who's gonna watch her now? How do we all go somewhere?
Mhm.
You know, but like again, these like little things, like it's just a dog. But what if you had a kid? You know, like now I gotta pay for like 2 meals. Now I gotta pay for 2 plane tickets. Like I thought you got a discount for a child on a plane. No, you do not. You have to buy the ticket.
Up to a certain age, I think.
Irregardless
Yeah.
of-
Yeah.
yeah, like when they're like 6 months or whatever. But they're just sitting on your lap though.
Yeah.
But if you have to buy them a seat, like if they
But there's so much
require a
more.
seat,
Like
have to pay for
you see it
ticket.
all the time in planes. There's so much more you have to do. You're in such cramped space. You can't like how do you calm a baby down? There's gonna be crying.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
Throwing up. Like there's so much more things to deal with
Yeah.
in such a small space.
They have an
too.
allergic reaction. You're like, what?
What do you do? Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. Like even like let's say you manage all of their expectations. Like we can't buy the video game for you because of this. Can't buy that toy for you because of this. Right, totally fine. But what if they get sick and then you have to buy all of this other stuff? You're like, oh my god, this is like you can't even be like no. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you have to help them with their life.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? Like if you want it, if you're in a position to have a child, yes, totally. But just realize the decision you're making.
Sure.
That's the only thing. I
Yeah.
think right, and I think we're at that stage in our lives right now where we have enough resources to look into it and make a conscious decision
Mhm.
about these big choices.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One of the worst things that I always hear is like when they're just like, I hate my kids. You're like, bro, you're not selling it to me here. You know what I mean? They're like don't ever have children. Like they're just dirty. They just spend all your money. They don't even care about you. And you're like, whoa, like I feel bad for your life.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. And I get those because you know, some people have kids and they just like tell you and you're just like, oh my God, this you're not selling it here. I feel
Yes.
bad for you,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
person. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Speaking of way people live their lives, there's one thing I did want to talk about, which is sleep, and I found this like so fascinating. I okay, you know, like I follow a lot of motivating people. Okay, and they're like, you don't need sleep. I just 2 hours, and I'm just gonna like power
Okay.
through the day. Like Jocko Willink is like, okay, I'm just gonna have like 5 to 6 hours sleep. Like David Goggins, you know, or like Cameron Haynes, Joe Rogan, all these people who are like big go getters that don't require, like, they allegedly don't require a lot of sleep. Okay. And then now I'm starting to think maybe it's because of the like drugs you're pumping into your body, like in terms of like
Mm.
testosterone, um, you know, steroids, all
Okay.
that stuff.
Right.
Maybe that's why you don't need sleep. Okay. I bring this up because Khabib, somebody asked him, Khabib, you know, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
fighter.
Yeah.
That's one. So somebody asked him, like, what's your secret to success? And he's like, sleep. And I was like, what? Sleep? I never really got it. Okay. And then recently, like this past 2 weeks, I've been like bombarded with lack of sleep because I just had too
Yeah.
many things going on, stayed up too late, whatever, whatever. And then I have these trackers, right? So they tell me how much I've slept. And then on the days that I sleep like 8.5 hours, I'm like, oh, dude, I feel great. Let's go. Right. And you know, I train, right? Jiu-jitsu and stuff. And I don't feel any pain on those days that I sleep. But then this past week, I've been having like 6 hours. My best time was 6.5. And all of the pains are showing up. And I'm like, what is going on? Like somebody hyperextend my elbow for an armbar.
Right.
And it it normally wouldn't have hurt. Like the first few days when I was like 8 hours sleep, it's like, okay, that's pretty good. Like it's a little tender, but like whatever, who cares? And then now that I've had like low sleep, like my back's hurting, my arms hurting. I stood up and I was like, oh, my knee. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then I realized like, oh, it's because I haven't been sleeping, you know? But wild. And then Tara was like, and then I was like in a fog. I was like, what are you saying right now? Like, I can't even comprehend,
Compute.
you
Yeah.
know? And then yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, Tara was like, it's because you haven't slept. And she's like, most people are living like this,
Yes.
but they don't know they're living like
Mm-hmm.
this. Wild.
Their
And then I was
emotions
like, wait,
are
is this how people are living?
well. Yeah, they don't even know
But not
that,
even that. She's like,
and their emotions are controlled
yeah,
because of the lack of sleep.
right. It's wild. Your like tolerance bar is, and as somebody who has like pretty good control over their like emotions, me speaking for me, like it's like my tolerance bar is very low. Like my patience,
Yeah, and if
I've
it's
noticed it. I was
yeah,
like,
think about
ooh,
it. If you're doing it for continuous time, right? The
yeah,
tolerance bar is going to get shorter and shorter. The more and more
right.
lack you continue to have lack of sleep. Yeah.
And what's crazy is like the tolerance bar when people are like, what do you mean you could just have tolerance, whatever, whatever. But it's like, no, you're in pain and you're tired
So
and your brain's not working.
very quick to
So you're like,
irritation.
bro,
Yeah.
yeah, because you're like, oh, come on, man. Like, can't you see that I'm hurting?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before, if you're feeling fine, you're like, yeah, I'll go do that. Whatever, I'll just do this,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know? But then if your like energy's low, that's why patience is like lacking because you're like, I'm sore, I'm hurt. Like, can't you tell? I don't want to go do this right now, you know? But if we just slept longer, we would feel better
Yeah.
and we'd be more patient to like expend energy,
Body
you know?
heals.
Even like
Yeah.
body heals, bro. Is wild. So like there's a lot of grabbing in jiu-jitsu,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I've noticed that when I don't sleep, and especially in consecutive days, like these last two fingers really hurt. And I'm like, oh dude, this is like arthritis. Cause I'm like
Right.
grabbing, you know, it's like right. But then I realized like, is this what old age is? I was asking Tara, like, do people think they're old because they're just not sleeping and recovering, but they're actually able to bounce back. They just don't know they can bounce back. You know, like when people get older, they're like, "Oh, dude, like, oh, another day." Like, "Oh, my back hurts. Oh, his arm."
Well,
You know, but
that
it's like maybe you
I
just slept; those would go away, and you're like, "Oh, I
well,
don't feel that way."
it depends on how long you have been like lack of sleep, right? Maybe you're
Like
more.
chronic lack of
Yeah,
sleep.
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. So there could be, yeah, those are back pains that'll be even more worse when you're older versus if you had enough proper sleep in the younger ages. When you get older, that you'll be more fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, or more better off. Yeah.
Right. It's like compounding. Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. But I do feel like the body is resilient though. Okay. So like so like I've been tested. So I hadn't checked my blood pressure. And my benchmark for health is my blood pressure. Because my blood pressure is high, I'm like, okay, something's off, right? So I hadn't checked in a while. And then Tara was like running those tests to be like for her prep course
Yeah,
or
yeah,
like
yeah.
for her exam. So she ran like a blood pressure thing, and I was like, oh, it's probably gonna be like fine. And then it was like high again. It wasn't as crazy as before when I was having the caffeine, but it was like elevated, like 136, let's say, or like 132, somewhere
Sure.
around that range.
Right.
So anything above 130 is like high blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And like you should consider, like you should either change your life, but if you're not gonna change your life, just take medication because it's prolonged periods of like anything over like 1 to 4. I'm not a doctor, actually. Don't listen to me at all. I just know that you shouldn't have high blood pressure for a long period of time, and I was like in that zone. Um, yeah. So then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna drastically change everything. I just started eating healthy, whatever, and then I got my blood pressure down to 120 again, over 80, which is normal, which is like peak, in a matter of like 3 or 4 days. And I'm like, wow, the body is just so malleable, but it's all about the inputs you give it. And I know what I was doing wrong. Like I was like binging on food. I
Sure.
was like
Right. Right.
going
Right.
off, you know? So it's like when I just cut those things out and I was just eating healthy, it like went back down. And you're like, oh, it's input output, bro. Like that's what the body is doing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's like if you give it lack of sleep, it's gonna perform poorly. If you give it the wrong fuel, it's gonna perform poorly, right? And like I really wonder if these things like cancer, old age, um, like I bring up cancer because like that's the one that nobody knows why it happens. You can guess, but like the other one's like pretty obvious, like diabetes, too much sugar, high blood pressure, like you know,
Yeah.
sodium or like your cholesterol levels. So it's like pretty obvious, right? But I wonder if because in the book of the myth of normal with Gabor Mate, he was saying that cancer is a psychological thing that manifests as a physical thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're always under stress, right? And we've built our world around stress. You
Right.
know, like wake up early, go get a job, get the kids. They're gonna pay for this, bills, da 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 da. Right? Our entire world is in a way is manufactured in a way that's like high stress. And if your body's never in, like stress is fight or flight, right? But if we're never in like rest and digest, how does your body heal,
Right. Mm-hmm.
right? But our society is in like is programmed to be high stress all the time,
Yes.
right? Like wake up, pay the bills,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
feed the kids, walk the dog, go to work, get yelled at by your boss, come home. You know what I mean? Like you hate your life. And if you're just stewing in like hate, it's like your body's always amped,
Yeah.
you know? And that like if people really are living this way, I can see how you're gonna head towards a decline, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. Like if I saw my blood pressure and I was like, screw it, whatever, there's medication for that.
Yeah.
You know, and I was just gonna keep up what I was doing instead of changing the input output and then realizing, wait, our bodies are so malleable. I just need to change a few things and then I'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, but that's the majority of our lives.
Yeah. I don't know if, I mean, there is a shift in that thinking of looking at the cause, but I don't. It wasn't like that before. Where it's just like, give me the thing that'll just reduce the blood pressure. Just give me those pills.
That's what I mean. Yeah, right.
I
Like,
think
no,
most
totally.
people just do that because they just don't want to change the way they live.
Right. For sure. Yeah, totally, totally. And I'm looking at like for me, my North Star is like old man strength. You ever see those like really old people that are still fit? And you're like, dude, how are you doing this? But it's like, no, we can just keep doing this.
Mm-hmm.
as long as you're just mindful of what you're doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
really don't, right? I really don't believe in like old age. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's a thing. I think it's like, I think it's a narrative that gets pushed onto you. I don't think it's an actual inevitability.
Right. I think
What do you think?
I think yes, it depends on how you treat your body when you're younger, right? As you get to
Yeah.
old age, I feel like that's where the main things come from. How your body will react to the way that how you treat it.
Yeah, totally. For sure, for sure. And that, but what I'm saying is like, I think that's what becomes old age.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Cause like, okay.
how yeah,
Mhm.
how like how badly do you get when you're old age is based on those compounds of over time, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, totally, totally. And, and as somebody who like grew up kind of fearing that, like as a kid, you're always,
Sure.
well, as a kid, like, but I think that's just like weird trauma because my parents, like my mom is a nurse and then my sister became a nurse. And then, but they're like not even like, they're not like nurses in the conventional sense where it's like, oh, I'm just taking care of somebody. They're like critical care nurses.
Mm-hmm.
So there's every morning. It's funny because like as Tara like spend more like as we spend more time as a family, like we're married now. Like even before, like the like as we I don't know how to explain this, but like as your relationship deepened through time,
Sure.
she realized like, oh, your mom's saying like a lot of like death stuff. And I'm like, that's how I grew up.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Just like, oh wow, mom's like just always like seeing death. And I'm like, yeah, but that's me waking up. Mom comes home from work, having breakfast. She's like, so this person died, and well, you wouldn't believe they just cracked their head open. And I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah. And then it's just like freaking me out as a kid, like, oh, dude, this is just gonna
yeah,
happen,
yeah, 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 yeah.
But my mom didn't know about like natural stuff. So like Tara getting into naturopathy, you're like, wait, there's other ways to do this. Whereas my mom, like my sister, I was like, oh, my blood pressure's high, right? And then I was like, oh, I got it down to 120 again. She's like, just so you know, in the future, you're gonna be on like high blood pressure medication. I'm like, how you know that, bro? Like, what?
Right, right, right,
No, that's
right.
not an inevitability. But like to her, because like that's what they do, right? The the prescribed narrative for nurses and doctors within the medical profession, you know, it's like just take the drug. We're all gonna take the drug,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't actually have to take the drug. And I'm trying to see if I could prove that to myself as I get older, and I am, and I'm like, that's weird because maybe we could all live in not peak condition, but like we could all not have a terrible end to our story.
Right.
Because right, everybody thinks about old age, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna suffer from dementia, probably gonna be on all these medications. You know what I mean? But it's like not necessarily, right?
Yeah. Right, right, right.
Right? And yeah, I feel like that's like the unsung. Like nobody speaks about that. Maybe it's because it's something we didn't know about in our like youth, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
naturopathy and stuff was not a big thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's bigger or getting bigger now to understand it in that sense, but it wasn't. It was just more like how do I just fix the problem versus
Yeah,
solve a problem,
totally.
right?
Yeah. You know what's really weird too? Like in third world countries, like as I was growing up in the Philippines and stuff, all the fittest people that would look like models, they're all poor, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But then you're like, why are you so fit? Why are you like when I went down there, there's like fishermen, right? That are jacked,
Right, yeah,
bro.
yeah, yeah, right.
And they're so old, but they're still like fit being a fisherman. You're like, how are you so fit? But they're like, oh, they're the laborers though.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you're
I was
like,
about to
but what
say,
are
yeah,
they doing?
the view of that is
Right?
different, though.
Freaking wild, bro. But I'm looking at them now like, how are you so fit? I'm
Right.
just gonna copy that, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they're not even doing anything crazy. Like their job is like labor intensive, so they're naturally doing exercise, but they're not like waking up. They don't do push-ups. They're just like, let me
No, no,
just
no.
grab the crate and
Yeah.
do the whatever, right? And then when you look at what they're eating poor people food, which is like the leftover fish and then some vegetables you get from trees. So their whole meal is fish and vegetables. Like obviously you're going to get jacked. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's like us poor people, bro. We don't do that.
Yeah.
We get our like our condensed milk desserts and our like abundance of rice.
Bread
You know
and
what I
all.
mean?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? But they're not eating that. But now we're the ones that are sick because we didn't realize that like this abundance was not the move. The move is actually like living more, you know, connected to our bodies.
Right.
I don't even want to say connected to nature because it's not really about connecting to nature because it's all nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's more about like connecting to yourself, realizing when like me being like, oh, I think I need to sleep more, you know?
Right.
But you can't. All right, here's my other thing too. You can't do it intuitively, right? So like Tara doesn't like sleep trackers or like food journals. I'd
Sure.
say like I
Okay.
have this app that like I track my food, right? But when I tried not to do it for a while, and then that's when the blood pressure went up because I wasn't paying attention to it. And then I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go back to that, and then I was able to get it back down, right? And then she's like, well, that's not healthy for you. I'm like, but we need metrics. I need to know that I didn't sleep well
I think maybe
in order to
it's
be like, oh, I need to sleep
right.
more. You know what
I
I'm saying?
wonder if it's like, again, it's an each person thing, right?
Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying.
So
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think it's
It's not
like
good for
one solution for all. It's individual solutions for
right.
individuals, right? So this
Okay, yeah,
may
that's true.
help you, right? It's not going to help her.
Yeah, yeah.
She's more stressed doing that way, right?
Knowing,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
that's true. Yeah,
having to
yeah, for sure.
keep track and all that, but that's you're more comfortable doing that. It's more natural to you versus not natural to her, right?
But it wasn't in the beginning. It was only like that because I was like, I need to get this in order. And then when I got it in order, it just became like a habit. It's like then because then you're like,
Yeah.
do I really want to eat this? Because I have to put this in.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you're like these, you know, like you make more conscious decisions because you're accountable to it. I have to write this down.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But again, that's
So
because exactly. But that's what helps you stay consistent.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Versus if you didn't have to track it down, then maybe I can have a little bit of this, right? It's not
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you don't have to think
I
about
don't
it.
have the discipline without
Yeah, yeah,
the.
yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah,
depends. Yeah,
I
like
see what
maybe
you're saying.
so she could have the discipline to not need to write it down, but she knows she's going to follow it.
Right, 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 right. Right. Okay. Yeah, that's true. It is all about finding your path. But I think the biggest thing too is like realizing because we don't. I don't know how to put this, but like we okay, we know that we have this mind, right?
Hmm.
Everyone knows they have like a head, like you're like thinking, but nobody thinks about how the body and the mind. Or no, the body is a part of your reality too.
Hmm.
And I think that goes back to the medicine that you're saying. You know, it's like we'll just take the medicine to heal ourselves because you're not thinking like this is my vehicle for the rest of my life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you're kind of like you're you're taking it for granted almost,
Hmm.
right? But it's like if you learn how to connect to your body, because we all know how to connect to our minds, right? We're all like all emotional beings naturally, right? But what does your body feel like? What does I mean, this does sound super esoteric, but that is something I learned through yoga. Like
I
you do
think
body
sometimes,
scans.
yeah, sometimes it's more like some things are not visually seen, right? Of what's happening
Yeah.
to the body,
Yes.
right? It's all
Yeah.
internal. You're not really seeing what's exactly happening.
But you could feel it. You're like, oh, this
You may
feels kind of
feel it.
off.
You may feel it, but you're not connecting. You're not connecting, making those connections, right?
Yes, totally. Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure.
Right. So if you visually
No,
see
no,
something
I know what you're
happening,
saying.
if you
Yeah.
visually see something happening to the body, then you're like, oh, I gotta fix. How do I change that, or what am I doing?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We rely too much on our eyes
Yeah.
when that's just one sense and that's one like energy that we can connect to.
Hmm.
That's true. Yeah, actually, yeah. We do rely too much on our eyes. Because like if so like my hand is hurting, right? From like lack of sleep. If I saw like torn tendons here,
Yeah.
I would know right away, like, oh dude, this broken, you know, or like it's hurting. But like but when I go like this, I'm like, oh, it's sore. Most people just ignore it, you know, whereas I'm like, I should probably do something to help that.
Yeah. Maybe they're like, oh, I just
You
probably
know?
slept wrong, but that's not. Maybe that's not the
Yeah,
answer.
right. Yeah, yeah, totally. And that's how other things build up, you know. Yeah, fair point. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that'll be the when you talked about the Armageddon, maybe that's like the end of I feel like we're like I think we're hitting like an apex between science and spirituality soon
Hmm.
because of the internet, you know? Like me even mentioning this body mind connection, somebody might hear it and they're like, "Oh, I want to go down that path, read more about it or
Sure.
like learn more about it," you know? And then that like influences in other people. And I think that people like Joe Rogan and like all these health conscious people, it's like because we have so much access to information and like models for behavior,
Hmm.
I really think that we're headed towards like science and spirituality like interconnecting soon as well.
Right.
You know?
Sure. Yeah.
Like even like the ice bath thing is so popular now.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like you've heard people like talking about ice baths, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Regular people doing it, right? But that's like the internet just took that over. Like Wim Hof was the one who kind of brought that up. And then like you're seeing all these people doing ice baths. You're like, maybe I'll do an ice bath too.
Yeah.
What's this meditation thing? I learned about meditation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
And
again,
that's what I mean.
it's
It's like, yeah.
exactly that. But that all comes to like how popular it gets. We just follow the popular trend, though, right? So sometimes something's
But right.
sometimes some things that are not good for you, we tend to fall into that popular category too, right? Sometimes it happens.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, fair, fair, fair. Do you have a like a salient example that you're thinking of?
No, like just going, let's say going from smoking cigarettes to vaping.
Oh, people think that it's
People think that
healthy
it's a
that
bit
you're vaping.
healthier. Yeah.
Yeah, but then it comes with like other consequences too.
But we
That's what
don't.
you mean.
Yeah, 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 exactly. We haven't fully understood what vaping does to you.
Right, right, for sure, for sure. But all right, imagine if do we are we talked about this in the last podcast talking about like marketing, and if you don't know a product exists, how can you buy it,
Hmm.
right? So that's also about information. So it's like if you don't know something is there, if you limit someone's information, then you can limit their choices and you can control them better. So back in the day, like nobody had the internet to tell you or like memes showing like the dude who like just kept vaping and then his lungs collapsed.
Yeah, or
Do you see that?
like the solid lungs or something, like a solidified.
Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
right. So now you're like, oh bro, that's not good.
Hmm.
But that might have not made it to mainstream media back then.
No, I know,
But now we have the
but
internet, right?
yeah, 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 we get that
But
now.
that's what I
But
mean.
but that
No, no,
time we were
right.
just following a trend, right? It was people were just
Right,
following
right,
it.
right, right. Yeah, facts are facts. But what I'm saying is that's why I think we're heading towards science and spirituality mixing because like now we're able to share information much quicker and be like, there's more out there in this world than what you think, and then
Yeah,
models of behavior.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, how long has it been so far?
Oh, 1 hour,
Because I do want
six
to talk about it.
6 minutes.
Okay, okay. Well, um, okay. The other thing I want to talk about was so Blink-182 is back, and
Okay.
we yeah. So we talked about. I think we talked about this before, but I got tickets to the show August 15th. Stoked about that. But what I thought was interesting about their whole return was like it all stemming from like I think the narrative of the return is really cool. So they broke up. They got back together when Travis had his plane crash, but then they broke up again. But not on bad terms. This was because of like Tom DeLonge was like doing the whole alien thing, and
Right.
he was
Okay.
like had
Hmm.
to keep secrets, etc. But then Mark got cancer, and Tom found out about that, and he just stopped everything.
Hmm.
He's like, "Oh, I'm not doing the alien thing anymore. I'm not doing this angels and airways thing. We're gonna become Blink-182 again. We're gonna take over the world, right?" And they're like, "We're going to push so much positivity out, and like that's our mandate, because like life is short." When they realize, and if you listen to the album now, it's all about spending your time wisely.
Sure. Yeah.
We went back and listened to the first album, and it's like, oh, it's all about fun, and that's why I love them, right? Like it's all about like positive things, being yourself, but you're kind of youthful. All the songs were very like teenagery,
Mm-hmm.
it's all like broken hearts and stuff. But then when you listen to the new songs, they're more like emotionally driven about like serious matters like life and death, divorces, stuff like that. Because that's what they've been through, right? They're
Right. Yeah,
older
yeah, yeah.
now,
Right.
able to talk about it, right? And they recently put out this. So like, okay, so Mark, now that he's in remission from cancer,
Mhm.
he was like, if I have all the money, which he does now, what do I really want to do? And that's what they're deciding as a band now, where it's like, I only want to do things that will maximize my life experience.
Right.
Like things I think are funny
Yeah.
and like enjoyable, right? It's not about chasing the money anymore. And they did this like concert thing that's like blowing up on the internet because they played at a Denny's. They did a
Mhm.
secret show at a Denny's, but it turns out like they were like filming a music video. But then what I found out is if you dig more into it, is they were copying a meme of this kid who like had a post-hardcore show, and he's like, "What the f is up, Denny's? Let's go!" And it broke the internet because it was so stupid, right? So they did that same thing, and I'm like, "Oh, that's so funny that you're copying a meme to make us all remember and make us all laugh,
Right.
right?" And that's why I like the band. It's all about making you laugh, right? And it's like that was so empowering to be like, let's like just be yourself and have a fun time doing it,
Mhm.
right? So now what if everyone did that? Like going back to the choices of like the kids, like,
Sure.
oh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hate my children, all that stuff. Like, what if you just did things that you found were fun within your means? Obviously, like you can't just like drop everything, travel the world, and whatever. Um, but like, what kind of world would we live in if we took on that kind of ethos?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Where it's
Yeah.
like, if you think it's cool, just go do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but I've had some conversations just asking people like, what do you like to do? Like I'm actually a weirdo for knowing what I like to do.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Mhm.
Like trying to talk to like regular people about like even just the way I interact with people, like a lot of emojis, whatever. I'm like, and they're like, "Oh, that's you." And I'm like, "Yeah, because I know who I am. I know what I like."
Yeah.
But then you're like, "What do you like?" And they're just like, "I don't know." And you're like, "What? You're living a life you don't even know what you like?" Or they try and tell you something that they think other people will like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's the majority of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It
We're
is.
going back
Yeah.
to we're going back to like a lack of sleep, trapping yourself with like bad decisions. And like the other thing is like you don't know what you like. Like I've literally had that question. It's like, oh, like, what do you guys think is awesome?
Mhm.
I don't know. My dog. Like, really? Okay, cool. You're living
Right.
for your
Right.
dog.
Right.
All right. But like, really
That's
though,
true, though. It's
have
true.
you
It's true.
encountered that?
Um,
Like, that's a rare quality to know what you like.
I have
But
never.
I think
I don't
like
think
that
I've.
stemmed from
It's
Blink.
just not in a work environment that you ask that kind of question. But uh,
But not even work, just like regular people too. Like, it kind of freaked me out. Like, okay, I like tattoos. I know I like tattoos, so I'm gonna get some tattoos,
mhm.
right? But then you talk to like normative people, and then they're like, tattoos are edgy. They're kind of weird. I don't really like them. And then now I feel like a weirdo for following things that I like, whereas you don't know what you like. And
So
now
they're just
that weird
judging the other
insecurities,
side. Right. Right.
yeah, it's like
Why do
pushing
you?
onto me.
Yeah.
It's like, why do you care what I like,
Mhm.
bro? You know what I mean? Like, if you see my space, it looks weird. And it's like, that's not normal. But it's like just things I like. It's like, yeah, this is
Yeah. You're
effective
not.
for me. This
We're not living for someone else. We're living for yourself in a way, right? Like.
But that's rare. But that's what I'm saying. And that's like what I'm noticing is weird is
Mhm.
it's just like I like these things that are all around me, but what do you like?
Right.
Are you just purchasing that thing because you want to keep up with the Joneses? Are you're like, we got a bigger TV because they got a bigger TV.
Yep.
We got a couch because they got a couch.
Mhm.
You're like, but do you even really want that couch? Do you want like something else? What do you really want to do? What do you really like?
That's where it depends on the person's view, like what they view as success. Right.
Yeah.
And that can be, in
Yeah.
some ways, it can be detrimental. Is your success, oh, I want what that guy has. But
Oh, I see what you're
you
saying.
know what I'm saying? Like, but then you're not really doing things that you want to do. You're just,
That's
you think this is the
superficial.
meaning of, yeah, but you think this is the meaning of success. It depends on like where your education come from. What were you taught or understood of the
Yes.
world? Right. Uh, right. Like, is, Like yeah, like for me, like watching F1, that's not something that a lot of people
Yeah.
do. It's-
Yeah. But I mean, that's cool. Like, I'm not into F1. I understand you're into F1. That's cool for you, not for me. You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? But like, that's where we draw the line. But if you don't even know if you like F1, you're like, what? Like,
Yeah, like what do you?
you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Like,
Well, you got to do something that
uh,
you're in this planet, right? You got to do some things that you like. Like you can't be all
right?
100% like not things that you don't like or just copying others just for the sake of being involved or like feeling involved, like feeling connected or something. But you're not. That's
Yeah.
not really feeding your soul in a way, right? So, you,
Yes. Yes. And I think that like Blink-182's album and the return of this, like what they said is what Tom said is he realized, so he's really into aliens, right? And he believes that there are certain aliens that like feed off of negative emotion. So
okay,
he likes to
right, right,
counteract
right.
that with positive emotion, right?
It's
I
not,
don't know if
not it's
that's
not,
true.
but doesn't matter. That's still a good thing, though.
You know,
If you're doing it
good for
that
you,
way,
not for me. Yeah, cool. But like, so that's why if you listen to the lyrics and stuff, they're very profound and stuff, and they're very positive. And one of the songs is called "Childhood," and
hmm
what it is like, um, the line I like. So the chorus, like, where did our childhood go? But the line I like is like, we live in a world that forgot how to dream.
hmm
And I was like, yes, you hit the nail right on the head. It's like when you ask somebody like, what do you like to do? It's like you just forgot how to dream. You you're like you're bored.
yeah, hmm
But it's like, how do we fix your boredom? It's either appreciation or creativity. Like either appreciate the fact that you're living or like find something cool you like to do,
yeah,
you know? And you can feel it too, which is interesting to me. Like like how do I put this? If you ask me about aliens,
yeah.
I'd be like, bro, this is some crazy. Check this out. Da-da-da-da-da-da, right? But then if you ask like somebody else, what, like, what do you like to do? I like to paint. And you're like, oh, cool. Tell me more about that. But then you realize they're just painting because they feel like they should be painting. Do you get what I'm saying? Do you get the difference there? It's like, I'm really interested in this, so I'm going to spend all my time looking into this thing
Right. Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's interesting to me. But then, like, there are certain people that, like, I know what I like to do.
hmm
Like, of course, I like to paint, right? As an example.
Sure,
And
sure.
then you ask them about the painting, but there's no passion there. It's almost like you're doing it out of like
Or it's more. Yeah, I
FOMO.
know what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, well, maybe I thought I would
I'm
like
painting because,
painting. Maybe I like painting. Maybe that's why. But you're not really answering. Like, you're not like going in depth into the world of painting. Are you really that interested in painting, or just on the surface
yeah, yeah,
level? Right. It's like me
yeah, yeah,
explaining. Like, it's
right,
like,
right.
so am I just watching F1, or am I like understanding like what these tire mechanics do, or like, you know what I mean? Like explaining like how in depth you get into the
Yes.
things that you love. I would say. Yeah.
And right, and that's what I mean. It's like somebody's like superficially like so like if you're listening to this right now, like, dude, I totally know what I like to do. Right. But it's like, but do you know what you like to do simply because you want us to think you like that thing?
Mm-hmm.
So
True.
it's like I like F1. Why? Because everyone likes F1. Oh, I do this because everyone's like doing that. That's what I mean about fear of missing out. You're just like you're only into that thing because everyone's into that thing.
Right.
But you're not willing to go find the one thing that you're really interested in that nobody else is really interested in.
Right, like even for the painting thing, maybe it's like you had a friend that did it, but maybe that friend's more into it, and you just thought like maybe I'll like it too. Or, like you're not really
Right.
into it,
You're
into
not
it.
really into painting. You're just like, I'm just gonna paint because that's, good people paint. Good people go to concerts. Good people watch this Netflix show.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, ugh. But you could feel that's what I'm going back to, like, you could feel it. It's like you got a lot of fakes out here. You know what I mean? Like a lot of not fakes, but like
No, but
lost.
it keeps coming. That thing always brings me back to this Keel and Peele skit where it was like talking about a review of a movie where it's like everyone's just saying the same thing, and then he's like, no, what do you actually feel? What do you actually feel? Then he just broke down. It's like, no, this is actually a really bad movie. Like, but I just don't want to be judged. Like
Right.
all that. He's just like,
Yes. Oh, that's good. I should cut that up. I'd never seen that skit.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
so funny.
Yeah. It's a really good
Okay,
one.
so
Yeah, that thing always comes into my
right.
mind. It's like, how original are you, or are you just following others?
Yeah, totally, 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 totally. And like And like you all don't have to be the same level of that thing, but you can like that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like we talked about it last week. I chopped it up like anime likers versus lovers something. I can't remember what it was, but it was like we were talking about like I wouldn't say I love anime, but if you looked at my room, you'd be like, "Oh, you love anime."
And
Like,
so, yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah.
I'm really into like things that I really like, you know? And it's like you don't have to make that box like you only have to go to the level of the box that you want to make yourself happy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to fit like now if people are like you love anime, they're like, okay, cool, I'm just gonna watch every anime. But then you're leading yourself from other people. I think maybe that's what it is. It's like you're letting other people lead you other than you leading yourself to what you like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
true.
It's like
But that's the in group
we
out group. I feel like that's where that goes into. Then.
totally.
Mm-hmm.
But this all ties into like the health thing we talked about before, where it's like we're seeing with our eyes, but we're not feeling.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm seeing that everyone likes this thing, so I should jump on board to their level rather than being
Yes.
like, I'm cool enough, I'm gonna leave now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I mean, like this is my anime phase. Like Tara's like, you go through so many phases in life. I'm like, yeah, because I get really into things.
Sure.
But like
Mm-hmm.
when One Piece is done, I don't know if I'll go back to anime when One Piece is done. I might change the thing entirely.
Yeah.
Or like when you know what I mean? It's like I don't love that thing. You know,
Yeah.
my favorite band's Blink-182. Okay, I haven't listened to this one album. I can't get past the first song. Like, dude, you love Blink? I'm like, yeah, I do, but to as much as I love Blink.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like a die, and I think that's what it is. Like people just like die hard for things because that's what people expect of you to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
There's so many more mechanics into that, like mind world mechanics, just loyalty or
hmm,
uh again, it still goes back to the in group out group feel. I feel like that's there too, right? Like
yeah, for sure.
it's
You want to be
always
accepted,
yeah.
but that in group out group thing is all about who's the leader. Are you the leader or are you being led?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? I think most people are just being led in life.
Yeah, I wonder if there's. I think maybe there needs to be those types of people too, right? Those people type of people do need to exist in the world as
Yeah,
well
but
as
for sure,
leader
and those are
people
the
too.
people. For sure, and those are the people that are not listening to this podcast. Those are the people that are not people I want to hang out with. You know what I mean? Like
Sure. Yeah.
they do exist, but it's like they have their own zone
Mm-hmm.
away from me. You know what I mean? Like I really don't like that. I would like how do you put that? It's like normalcy, mundane. Like what? It's so negative to say, but it's just like.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm trying to say? It's like the spark is. That's why I love that song "Childhood" by Blink-182. It's like
Mm-hmm.
we live in a world that forgot how to dream. It's like I don't want to hang out with no dreamers.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, it doesn't even matter if you are not into the thing that I'm into, but if I can feel the passion there, I want to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because then it's like interesting to me. I can learn something.
Right. Yeah.
You know, yeah,
Yeah, I think that's far and few between. I don't think there's too many people that are like that, I would say.
yeah, yeah, totally. Um, all right, how much more are we into the time? I need a couple more.
An hour and 22 now.
Oh, these are interesting. Oh, damn. All right. Don't want to delve into these.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Maybe just like a little bit. There's okay. So I know we talked about this before, reality TV shows,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm realizing what separates. Okay, how do I put this? There are shows about nothing, like Seinfeld, Friends, nothing's happening. It's like maybe like a small peak, but it's kind of boring. You know what I'm saying? Like you're like just narratives that are like you're just watching people live their lives.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So then there are reality TV shows. And I'm trying to figure out what's the draw for reality TV shows for me. So we started this new one called Vanderpump Rules. Tara's been obsessed with it.
Okay.
So have you heard of it before?
Nope.
No. Okay. So I really feel like Tara would get into anime if, because I'm about to link reality TV shows and anime. She would definitely get into anime if she was into like the art style and like understood it. She doesn't really get it. It's like
Yeah,
cartoon
yeah,
style,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
whatever. But like we're watching Vanderpump Rules, and basically what it's about is these. It sounds so. Even when I'm watching, I'm like, well, I've been watching these people live their lives, but like it's hard for us to agree on things to watch. So I'm like, I'll just take an L, and I'll go watch this reality TV show. But okay, even Demetrius Johnson, this fighter,
Mm-hmm.
all right, like he's probably the GOAT in my mind because he's so like great at fighting. Him and his wife only watch reality TV shows too, and I'm like, I think you're seeing what I'm seeing because he's a gamer. It's like Mighty Gaming. I think we've talked about him before. So like he games a lot, whatever,
Okay.
likes anime, stuff like that. But I think he's seeing the connection as well, which is if I know where this reality TV show is gonna lead, I'm willing to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, they all start off as servers. She's like way down the line, and the only reason why she started is there's this huge drama that happens that like blew up the internet, and then they're like, "Oh, it's a part of the show." So she started watching the show just to see how the drama unfolded. Okay, so um, they're all servers at this really famous restaurant, but they're just servers. They're not rich. They're not famous. They're just servers.
Right.
Right? But through the show, they're like in Hollywood and they all want to become famous. And then she says it's interesting because as you watch the show, they actually start to manifest their dreams through this reality TV show. They get famous through the show.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I'm like, oh, it's a character arc story. It's literally like One Piece. Like you will start One Piece and you'll like the reason why it's 1,000 episodes because they really show you the evolution of every character. Right?
Right.
And then like and I think that's what separates reality TV show and anime, in my mind, from like, why don't we watch like Seinfeld or like Friends
Mm-hmm.
or like there was another show. It was like it was like in a convenience store with Ugly Betty. Have you heard of that one?
Superstore? Wait, convenience store.
Superstore, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yes, yeah, it's a Superstore, yeah, yeah. And they're all just working at like Walmart or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like, there's no. Oh my god, it's an amazing arc. It's just like flatlined.
Sure. Yeah.
They
Yeah,
go
yeah.
through stuff,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but they're not like. It's not like, it's not like if you only listen to this, it's like I raise my hand really quickly. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Whereas like One Piece is like they're all normal, then explode into become these pirate kings.
Mm-hmm.
Vanderpump Rules, they're all like servers, and then all of a sudden they become famous, right?
Right.
Whereas like, and I think that is an interesting aspect of these. It takes a type of person though. Going back to like what you like, because these like it's just like Steve Jobs. You start off with nothing and then you became this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Elon Musk. I still haven't finished the book, but you started out in South Africa and then you became this.
Right.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like there's a weird evolution, and I think a lot of people don't really see that either, because we'll talk about Vanderpump Rules with like her sisters and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, that's so funny. What happened?" But I'm seeing it through a different lens, which is like, how are you evolving into this other person? You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Character arc. Yeah.
that, right, but it goes back into the normalcy thing. It's like what are we both seeing? What are we both looking at? But one of us is drawing a lesson away from it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I see what you mean.
It's
yeah.
like the passion thing. It's like yeah, we all like art, but it's like no, I'm like really trying to get deep into this
Mm-hmm.
art.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know?
yeah.
But do we like those shows that are mundane because they remind us of our reality? Like the person that wakes up hates their kids, are like, oh, that's just like me. I can identify with that. I hate my life as well.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas me, I'm like, oh, let me just see how far I can push this video game called life. And I'm watching these other people do it. So I'm like, maybe there's a path here that I can learn from. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, but is that a softening of our consciousness? Is that a softening of our human potential and our development?
I mean, I don't know. not sure how necessarily they work together. It just, you know,
Or you think they're just creating those things because there's a market for it? It's like, well, these people are pretty stagnant in their lives, so we'll create this for them.
yeah, that's kind of what happens. Yeah.
You don't think we're being herded as a species? Like that's wild. If that is what's happening, if they're just like, oh, there are these like people that are motivated, so we'll create this storyline for them, and then they're like,
I don't think
take
people.
it.
No,
You
no,
don't
no,
think
no,
we?
no, no. Because the amount of money they spend on other shows, they try to see what will be popular. They spend so much money on other things too that don't even go past the pilot.
I got what you're saying. So it's like I'm thinking we're being herded, but in reality, they're just playing a gambling game.
Yeah,
I'm drawing connections where there's no connections.
yeah. It's just like,
Like
oh,
it just seems
yeah. There's
similar.
like so many. Yeah, yeah, there's like so many things they spent on pilots. Don't go further than pilots, just because it's just not gonna work. It's not gonna be popular. It's not gonna
True.
get. Not gonna catch on. Right.
Oh, yeah, I see what
And
you're
I
saying. Yep.
heard where it's like, I heard that they didn't go through the same process for a lot of the Disney shows, Disney Marvel shows, that they thought that they were just going to be able to bring in that same audience, and the shows failed. Like they weren't, they
Oh,
didn't make money on
interesting.
it, right? Uh, Not Loki, but like the other ones, the other Marvel shows that they did.
Marvels. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
They didn't
Yeah.
make money. Oh,
They
interesting.
didn't. Yeah, they just thought that the crowd was going to be there just because it was Marvel. Didn't happen. They didn't go through the normal.
Ooh,
They didn't go through the normal process
interesting.
of doing a pilot, seeing if the story is going to be successful. Like, is it going to attract people? They didn't go through the. That's what I
Ooh.
heard. Yeah.
No, no, no. Like, wait. You just made me realize something about that, which is like I was drawing connection. I am drawing connections about hurting people, whereas maybe there really isn't. Maybe we are just like if you step back as a pattern, step back as an observer, and you see the patterns, it seems like we're being herded.
Sure. Yeah.
But in reality, we're just blindly bumping into one another
Yeah.
and we're like, oh, this is hitting, this is not hitting, this is hitting, this is not hitting.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like nobody's really thinking that in depth. Or maybe there is somebody, who knows. But maybe that's the aliens. Maybe the aliens are
Maybe.
hurting
Yeah.
us. I don't know. But you know what I mean? But like,
Then
yeah, I could see that point
Then they
actually. It's
wouldn't be
like
spending money on pilots, seeing if the
pilots, yeah,
right. They wouldn't be doing that if that's the case.
that's true. Okay, or maybe before we could be herded, because maybe before there's only one cable network, and at night channel 19 on
I,
Tuesday you only get this.
maybe that was like back in the time when there's only one channel, but then you got like
But
so many
now
different.
the
You got AB,
abundance.
like, you know what I mean, like the ABC. Like there were
Yeah,
so many
yeah.
things that are competing with each other. Like who was getting the views, right? They were still fighting over
Right,
each
right,
other.
right, right, right.
So that's the whole point of competition. That's so it's hard to be. It'd be herded, yeah, if there's only one channel. It's much more easier to do that. Yes.
Right. Okay, yeah, fair. Yeah, we're
And now
really
it's
becoming
even
like niche
now it's even
markets.
more harder because now you got Netflix, Apple TV, Prime. You
Right,
have much
exactly.
more
Yeah, yeah,
choices
yeah.
to like what do I want to watch. So it's even more harder.
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe freedom is in choice. Maybe before there was less choices, and that's why I'm like thinking in terms of herd mentality. Maybe that's how we got to where we are. Maybe we are here in this like type of world, like this like climate change world, this war heavy world, simply because we didn't have very many options.
Hmm.
Like the regular consumer didn't have many
Didn't have
options.
options. Yeah.
So right, so we were being herded in that sense. It's like you only have fossil
Sure.
fuel. So you're going down this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as soon as we add more choices to the consumer, we give them freedom. Maybe freedom for the consumer is choice.
Hmm.
So it's like, okay, you could either go down the electric way or you can go down the fossil fuel way. One's going to lead to climate change, one's not.
Yeah.
And then if we have those understandings and like those choices, we can make better decisions. Whereas if we didn't have those, it's like fossil fuel or bust. You know what I mean? It's like it's only this thing. And that's why we have like a messed up world. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. 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 You just have to have more options.
Right. But that's the power of the internet and collaborative nature of like online
I mean, yeah.
worlds.
I
Like
mean, like even
if
YouTube. YouTube, like that's one of the bigger things. Like you don't have to watch TV. You're watching YouTube channels now, right? Like that when
yeah,
our
totally. Yeah,
time.
for sure.
So those were you didn't get selected just to watch only whatever's on TV now. You have the internet. You have
Yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. Yeah. It's a good time. Yeah. Okay. Last thing. What time are we at right now?
33. 133.
Okay, I don't think this will be a long one. All right. So I just want to bring this back to spirituality because I've been thinking about it a lot recently. And we talked about this before. Like the reason why we don't really talk about spirituality too much is I feel like we've like overdone it. We just like we hit the nail on the head, bro. We're done. Just go back and listen to those podcasts. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like we don't really need to keep talking about the same things. But I do want to bring this up because it really like sparked my thought process recently, which is Kundalini energy. Okay, so get ready for this one. So Kundalini. When people talking about Kundalini yoga, everyone thinks that it's like yoga postures that get you like in a psychedelic state.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about meditation, people think about, okay, I'm just going to meditate and my life's going to become better. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's all centered around like this one practice in this one setting in this 1 hour period. And then you go home and live your life. Right. But what about daily life? Like if you're doing like meditation practices, Kundalini practices, all this stuff, it's like you need to search for the applicability in your like how do I apply it to daily life so it's not really a practice, it's a way of living.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Are you still with me? Okay. So Tom DeLonge's really into yoga and meditation right now because he believes that, like the negative forces are trying to rule the world,
Sure.
blah blah blah. And then he was like he was on the Steve-O podcast and he was like, um, or you could be a master and you could meditate all the time. And I was like, oh, you're talking about Zen. Like when I heard it, I was like, I
Mm-hmm.
know, because it's on that road, and it's like, I think that's where we'll slowly. That's why I think we're going to reach this like Armageddon enlightenment period because as like the first step is like, yeah, just learn how to sit there, right? Just meditate or
Yeah.
like channel your kundalini. I'm specifically going to talk about kundalini energy in a second. So, so like if you sit in this room and you do these kundalini practices, you'll get yourself high off your own like DMT supply, right? Like yoga will just make you high, right? And sure, okay, but you can't do that forever. You got to live a life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you move from like yoga to Zen, which is like meditating. Oh, hold on. Getting a package delivered. Whoops. All right. I guess I really do got to end this. So I think it's going to start barking. So okay, so you are learning how to do these meditative practices in a seating position, right? But you don't take it out in the world, and that's why we have Zen, right? You learn how to meditate in the world,
Sure.
okay? But then the next one is Tantra, right? And when people think about Tantra, it's like sex, sexual energy, like if you look at
Yeah.
Tantra
Yeah.
books,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
like, oh,
Okay.
they're just like
Sure.
making love, okay? So, but that's not really what the essence of Tantra is. It's about changing your life. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's about making your life into what it is you want it to be. Literally, like what we were just talking about, like you don't even know what you like.
Yeah. Right. Right.
It's
Right.
about like
Mm-hmm.
discovering, right? So Kundalini is about channeling your similar to Tantra, your sexual energy into your head. So it's like you're taking the energy from your base chakra to your highest chakra, which is in your crown, which is like enlightenment. Okay, sounds esoteric. You're like, oh, what is that going to do for me? Like, I'm just going to channel. And a lot of people get high when they do these practices, but that's not the point of it. Okay. But I brought this up. We talked about it before, but I want to bring it up again because I think it's really essential. When you're like, everyone who's listening to this will know this experience. When you're like, you're infatuated by another person, you start acting and doing certain things in order to like peacock in their
Yeah,
direction.
right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? You're like, I want you to like me, so I'm going to do this,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm going to start doing push-ups. I'm going to get jacked, whatever. But so the actual real takeaway from Tantra and Kundalini from like an allegorical perspective is what if you could just channel that sexual energy that like, I want you to like me, but just do it all the time. And that's the secret. It's like, why do you need the other
Mm-hmm.
to influence you to become better, why don't you just take that naturally occurring energy and make your life better?
Okay. Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. All right. Okay. So that being said, it's like, what do you, well, essentially, like, what do you think about that?
Like you're
Like,
saying, like
do
self
you understand?
growth. We're talking about self growth,
But not,
self
it's not
understanding.
growth. No, 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 no. It's not. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that. Because that is like that. I mean, yes, but that's like two levels above. Why is Tantra and Kundalini so obsessed with sexual energy? Because we peacock off sexual energy. We try and become our best selves when we're trying to attract another individual.
Okay, I
So
see.
the
Yeah, yeah,
process,
yeah, yeah.
reason thing. So the process of Tantra, of channeling your sexual energy, isn't to become a really skilled lover in bed. It's to utilize that sexual energy, but in your life. You know, like if I, okay, I'll take it as like my work, my art practice, right? So, and
Okay.
I've been doing this,
Mm-hmm.
like consciously, I've been doing this in my life. That's why I'm like, that's why I can like speak on it and like why I've like shaped my life in a specific way. But quite literally, it's like, if I make this video really cool, this girl will like me. If I can make this video
Right,
awesome,
right, right.
this girl will like me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, now I just take the girl will like me part away. And I'm just focusing on, let me make this thing awesome.
Right. Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But right, but that's like, that is, I think that's the secret sauce, and that's why like Tantra is the highest practice of spirituality. That's when you've taken your meditation and transformed your life. Whereas like, okay, Zen is all about, so it's like a step ladder, right? You start off meditating, learn how to control your mind. Then you learn how to do that in public spaces, which is Zen, right? I'm driving, oh, somebody cuts me off, or chill out, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next level is like, how do you transform your life? And that's when Tantra comes in, because you're like, let me take this sexual energy I naturally have about making people like me and just doing that to change my life in a positive manner.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I just want to bring that up
I just think
because,
that reminds me of, again, Steve Jobs too, right? Where it's like, it's not about, in those meetings that Johnny I was telling about, like thinking
yeah,
about like not hurting people's feelings. It's kind of a thing where it's like, no, it's about the product.
okay, yeah,
It's about
interesting.
making the best product
Yeah.
for the product's sake, not for someone else's.
Ooh, yes. Yeah, right. But he didn't know how to say it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
trying to I'm trying to make the bridge,
Right.
right? Because I know as people start getting into like this esoteric stuff, like I remember like, oh, people are starting to meditate now. People are starting to take ice baths, blah, 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 right? As you get into it, you're going to eventually hit the peak, which is Tantra. But I just want to go on record saying that it's not actually a sexual thing. It is a sexual thing because you're using the sexual energy, but it's like, why do people, because you have like a lot of yoga studio instructors that are teaching like something they have no application for. They're just like, we're going to channel the energy upwards. It's like, what the hell does that mean, bro?
Right.
And it's like,
So this
it's
is
really about
yeah,
making your
yeah,
life
yeah.
better.
But this is what I mean. It's like we're taking something that's positive, but then not understanding it, and then distributing it in a negative, could be a negative way.
In,
Yeah.
in like a in like an ignorant manner. It's
Sure.
like
Yeah.
then everyone's gonna start wearing like chakra beads and be half naked. And it's like, no, it's not really about that, bro. It's quite literally about just like doing the things you love. And that's what I feel from the Blink-182 album too. It's like they've really like unleashed their kundalini in a sense.
Right. Right.
It
Right.
sounds ridiculous, but like that is, and that's what I think is going to happen when I say like we're having an Armageddon. People are going to start realizing parts of their lives that I need to change this. I need to do this, right? And it's like all thanks to the internet, you know. But yeah, just keeping that in mind, it's like it's from a very reductionist point of view. It's the exact same feeling as when you're trying to attract someone. You know, you're like, I want to make
Right.
this
Right.
thing
Right.
so cool because I want them to like me.
Mm-hmm.
Just take away the I want them to like me, and then I just want to make this cool, and then that'll be it. You did bring up one. I just told the last thing. You did bring up one thing, and I heard the guitar player from Red Hot Chili Peppers bring this up. So you said it's not about people liking you, it's about the product. Johnny Ive,
Yeah,
Steve
yeah, yeah.
Jobs, right?
Yeah.
It triggered my thought. So the guitar player for Red Hot Chili Peppers, he's like, the Hollywood machine is made so that you like the person that created the song, but it's really about the song. And he's like, we're all just vehicles for creation, but we glorify the person.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't glorify the person. You should glorify the product, which is like, that's a really cool song. You know, not being like, oh my God, you're a god because you made the song. It's like, no, it's a really good song.
Right.
You know, and I think that links to like, you know, tell me about your geopolitical views, celebrity. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like,
that's
no,
true.
It's just a
That's
good
true.
song, bro.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like
They're not
Michael Jackson, bro. Good song.
Yeah.
They're arguably good songs, but it's like, yeah, you did some weird stuff, bro, but like, still a good song. Like, look at the creation. Don't look at the person. And Steve Jobs is onto that. These people know, bro. And it's like, why you, like, the more you read about people's biographies, like, look at successful people. They're all saying the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You know, and they're giving you the keys to, like, self-development is success, but your level of success, you know? It's like, what does success mean to you? How do you get there? Like Will Smith, you know, recently has that issue, but it's like he gave away a key, which is how do you build a brick wall, one brick at a time? Just focus on layering one brick, one brick, one brick.
Yeah.
I actually said that to someone. I just like put that out there. We were creating something, and I was like, just focus on the one brick. Like Will Smith had the best line, how do you build a wall? But then I got like shunned because like, oh, you brought up Will Smith. It's like, oh my God, bro, just look at the line.
Yeah,
like, who cares about Will Smith?
Right.
This is the key right now. You know?
But there's too much. Yeah, it's just attention to the person than the message. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You could learn as much from a bad teacher as a good one. How did Hitler control a whole nation, bro? Let's figure that out. Like, what did you do? So we won't do it negatively, but you know, you learn some things, bro.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. I have like a couple of things, but there's not as important as the currently thing I want to bring up. You said last thing from you is the Apple thing.
Well, they have some online event on I think Monday. So
okay,
we'll see what it is.
We're hoping for a laptop so I can get a new one because this thing is kicking the can. Surprisingly, it's still good, but it's like it's on its last legs. I could feel it.
Right. Yeah, I mean that.
All right.
Depends on how old these things are. Mine is still running, but from 2008. But I don't really use it. So.
Tara's iPad. She was just talking about this. The apps don't work. The thing's working, but just the apps aren't like.
Yeah, they've been updated probably. Over. Yeah.
So now she has to get a new one. It's like that's planned obsolescence, bro. There's gonna be a point where this thing's just gonna die out.
Yeah, it's all
this bad boy's still running.
Yeah, security reasons, these sort of things. Yeah, they eventually. I think that's generally what it is. Much more shorter life cycle than the old stuff used to be.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so hopefully we get some good products from Apple.
We'll see. And, I mean, it just looks like if it's just an online event.
You're not looking forward to it. You're like,
I think it's a very quick thing.
You don't think they're gonna announce?
They're not. No, because I don't think they're not doing in person, right? So I feel like it's just quick internal upgrades for like if it's M3 for the computers, and just a simple like again another M chip for the iPad if that's the case. I don't know exactly, but we'll see. So it seems like a quick just an online event. So.
I'm gonna write this down. I actually want to learn about the M from you. I'll do it after. But like next. Oh, there he is. Okay, I gotta get the Amazon package. All right. Till next time. I want to learn about the M chips from you next week. Till next time, take it easy, Vish.
Okay. Peace. I mean, yeah, bye.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors, Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Vish.
Peace.